All from one family on stage, their first gig, the Corrs.
It didn't go in that we could actually be meeting our producer or that this could be a major record deal for us.
If you feel the emotion in every song, you give across the emotion of the song.
You have been a wonderful audience and we will remember this. We will be back.
When you're put in a situation where you have to perform, where you have to deliver no matter what, if something happens.
That's why we're doing it. We're doing it because we love it.
Hi, we're the Guzman. We were the photographers on Forgiven, Not Forgotten, and you're listening to CorrsCast.
Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of CorrsCast. In this episode, we continue looking at the promotion of the album, and again, a photo shoot that we are now familiar with thanks to talking with Basia in the last episode. There's certainly been many images taken by a huge range of different photographers for this band, but few have ended up being as iconic as the shots by the husband and wife team known as Guzman. With a career spanning decades working with the biggest names in the music business, a few examples would be Rod Stewart, Sting, Janet Jackson, Annie Lennox, just to name a few. I was really delighted when they agreed to an exclusive interview with CorrsCast and to discuss their time working with the Corrs on 2 days of shoots. The shots in question went on to be used for the album, for the singles, and for the electronic press kit to advertise and promote the band back in 1995. The Guzmans were initially apprehensive about being able to remember anything from this photo shoot after it being so long. But as you'll notice when we discuss, the details come flooding out and the shoot was incredibly memorable for them for a number of reasons. In the show notes of this episode, you'll find a series of links with images and timestamps beside them so that you can follow along and better understand the images being discussed by myself and Connie and Russell. Join me as we go behind the scenes and discuss this photo shoot and answer some of the many questions that fans have had, now spanning decades. I'm really grateful that you've said yes. I really am. I'm tremendously excited to have this conversation.
Oh, well, we're happy. This is one of our favorite shoots. And it was unexpected.
Basia was the last person I interviewed, which was incredible.
Yeah, she's great. She's a character. Yeah.
It was lovely to hear the aspect of this album from a stylized point of view. It was very, when I first initially started this project, it wasn't something that really came to mind. It was like, I'll be music focused because this is about the music. And then as I started talking to people and having fan reactions, I really realized that it was more than just the music, and the aesthetic of how this album looked to the people that originally picked it up off the shelves to how the album was sold to the world is a huge part of its success. So I needed to talk to people that were responsible for that, from either the designers, Basia, and yourselves. It's really wonderful to be able to take some of your time today and talk about something that happened 25 years ago. It's wonderful to have the Guzman couple here, the amazing Connie and Russell, with the tremendous body of work that you have and still do.
Do you know that it's not our last name, right?
I do know that, yeah. But I was going to ask you where it comes from.
Oh, we made it up because there's two of us. So we gave ourselves a pseudonym so we could be anonymous. And so most of our career, except very recently, where we, in the social media, where people would see that we are actually two people and that's not our last name.
It was an attempt to make it singular. So rather than a team photograph, because it was kind of unusual at the time. So it was an attempt to make it appear to be one person.
I guess it's easier to, should we get Guzman to do that? It kind of rolls off the tongue where, do you know Connie Hansen and Russell Peacock? They do some great shots. Right. It's just really succinct. It's snappy. It makes sense.
No one knew that we weren't Guzmans. They would look at us and go, which one are you a Guzman?
It's kind of a branding thing, but we didn't really know about that at the time. But that is in fact what it was.
And where does the name itself come from?
It was just out of a hat.
It's top secret.
There it is.
Top secret. Some things we can't reveal.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that mystery. That makes me even more curious, which is even more fun. So no, well, that secret is safe with you and is certainly now safe with me. So yeah.
Okay.
I've got a series of questions. So let's go straight to this. Who were you first approached by for this shoot itself?
We were trying to find the information, but I guess Atlantic Records maybe, or maybe it's in art department. Richard Bates, Sung Lee Crawford.
Yeah.
Those are the ADs. And then I guess it really went through our agent, because we very rarely talked to anybody until we actually had the job, because you have an agent. And then they ask you whether you want the job, and they give you the background, and then you say yes, or in this case we were like, sure, sounds interesting.
Can you remember what part of that brief for the job that specifically you found interesting?
Well, to be honest, we didn't really know them, and David Foster was apparently on board, and we knew about him. And it was Atlantic Records. They showed us images because we weren't familiar with maybe it was like somehow it was like headshots or something, or somehow we saw that it was a group, a family, and they were beautiful. So it was like a photographer's dream. And then we thought, well, David Foster's,
David's
interested. Magic. Yes. And then we thought, well, they got to be good, because we weren't familiar with the music. So
yeah, well, they were worldwide. They were completely unknown at this time. They'd done a few bits of TV promo in Ireland, but it was a very quick process from them being signed to suddenly having that record deal and actually recording the music that they've been demoing.
Yeah. So, and that's why we were just completely in the dark.
I recall that they were kind of naive about the whole process. They obviously, it was their first album, and they weren't.
They were very open.
They were open to like everything, which is great. Because sometimes you get people that have been bands that have been making music for like 40 years, and it's the other extreme. So they were just open to all ideas and very easy to work with.
Well, they were so beautiful that it was really, you pick up the camera, you have a shot. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about having to make them look good, which is always part of what you're hired to do. So that was really not even an issue, with them to worry about.
Yeah, that's fully understandable. It's interesting you were given shots, or you had some kind of visual understanding of what you might be getting into.
Yeah, we usually like to see what the artist looks like, or if you don't know them.
Sure.
And then also, I think in our world, we were used to, people approaching us where they were known entities. It could be Rod Stewart, it could be Sting, it could be Janet Jackson, it could be these. So we were the Corrs, you don't want, because sometimes you'll get fantastic shots, but it doesn't go anywhere. But when we saw the team, we thought, this must be something here that we don't know about. So we were intrigued.
Also, I think when it's the first album, it's very important for the band because it kind of establishes their look. So you want to get it right. And it's a great opportunity because of that you have a lot of possibility. So you want to make sure that it's going to be interesting, different, they're comfortable with it. The styling has to be interesting and they have to be comfortable with that. So it's a good opportunity when you work with a band for the first time.
Yeah, you get to put your creative stamp on their creation, I guess.
Yeah, but they also were looking to hire us, so they kind of wanted to play in that direction.
Yeah,
we're kind of a specialty item.
Yeah, there was something in the work that they saw
that they related to.
They connected with. So that's the starting point. I mean, sometimes you're working with a band and you have no idea what they picked you. So that's challenging. But in this case, there was a connection. So aesthetically, it makes it all the much easier to
communicate,
work through it, and collaborate together.
They didn't really show us anything of ours and said something like this. It was really wide open.
Nice.
Yeah. That's typically how it worked. We never really knew. So once in a while they'd say, we like this, this is kind of a direction. But usually it was always very open. There wasn't anything specific based on our previous work. One thing that I did, we had a diary that we used to keep where we would stick in Polaroids.
Yeah, I've seen shots of your visual Polaroids and stuff from different shoots.
Yeah. So I was curious, like what other bands we were shooting around that time, which I think is 1995.
Right. There were 2 shoots.
One in LA and one in New York. Would you like to hear some of the other bands that we were working with?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
There was Rod Stewart. So he was working on an assembly line. There was a band called Nelson, Henry Rollins, Space Hog, Annie Lennox, Katie Lang, Cowboy Junkies, Don Henley, Shy. So that was all within a 3-month period.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put a side note in that your work with Janet Jackson is just, unspeakably amazing.
Thanks. That was a great shoot. That was one of our earliest after Debbie Harry.
Just amazing.
Thank you.
Saying that, are you able to sort of give me your backstory? And that can be as short and simple as possible, or just start from where you see appropriate.
Yeah, there's 2 stories, and we kind of blended. I'd say in the 70s, I was a teacher, and I taught, black and white photography to gifted students in an art high school in Newark. And then I took a course at the New School in Manhattan for studio lighting, and the instructor told me I should be a commercial photographer, and I didn't know what that was. So I quit my teaching job. I went to work for him as a second assistant. And then I stayed there for 18 months, and I opened a studio, not realizing that, that's pretty bold. But what happened was I must have been at the right time at the right place, and it just hit. So I was doing a lot of work right away. And I think 1984, I met Russell. I think he was looking for work, and we started working together. And then we thought, I was a still life photographer and some beauty and things like that. And then we said, we should be fashion photographers, but we didn't really know what that was. But we started playing, and then people started hiring us for, and it took off really fast.
Wow.
So we've been working for 30 some odd years now.
Incredible.
Solidly. We stopped. 2016, we said, especially for advertising, we've been still shooting for a number of people and doing very selective work. But as far as commercial, not really, because it's just a different industry now.
Yeah, so much has changed.
Yeah.
What were the first impressions of meeting the band? What were your first impressions?
Well, they were beautiful, and we had ideas, and they were open to the ideas, and they were pretty extreme. I think they had ideas, and they were, let's do the seasons.
Well, that was the second shoot.
Right. That was like one of the shoots.
The first shoot was LA, and we shot like in
train
downtown LA, and then in a train yard.
And in the beach.
And and like a
but it still had the same vibe, which was like earth, natural environment.
Yeah, I don't recall actually that one. I'm not
why
even
we
ended up in those positions.
Yeah, I think we like them.
I think what we tended to do a lot is give people, especially because they were so wholesome looking, we wanted to give them an edge. And I think Basia did the same thing with the styling. So we probably picked like urban locations that were a little grittier.
Well, also that was our aesthetic. And
that was our aesthetic. That's probably why they hired us. So, you know, it's they're one leg in traditional folk music and one leg in pop. So we're kind of pushing them in a third direction, maybe. And that's just very intuitive for us.
But they went totally.
Yeah, I think they
went.
They may have wanted to do
you
that.
Can't
anyway.
really push a person. I really feel what you do is you introduce elements, and they either pick them up or leave them. And we were very fortunate. We had a fantastic set designer, Bill Doig, who was a person that we worked with all the time. And he bought the props, and they, I believe, might have said, "Oh, let's do, the elements, so it's or winter, summer, spring, fall, or something." But then our take on it was totally deranged. For example, our snowfall might have been feathers, and our winter or weather might be a fan with mylar attached to it, blowing like streamers.
And the flowers were plastic
flowers. The other thing was, the sand in summer. So we just had 100-pound bags of sand.
There's a picture. I was looking at all the pictures. There's a picture with James carrying a stack of
sand, and that was summer.
like a laborer. So it was probably like.
So it was all tongue in cheek and fun.
That was probably we tended to go off on tangents sometimes and just try things, and they would be maybe a little absurd, but you kind of have to go there.
Well, we were on a roof and we did the maze out of fake grass.
Yeah.
Did you bring the grass?
Yes, all that stuff was props, and we were just having so much fun. So we brought the plastic flowers, the fans, the mylar, the feathers, the sand, and they were, shovels, and they were just like, "Sure, we'll dig and we'll do this," and they were having fun. We basically played through the shoot.
And there's like deck chairs from like pool chairs,
right,
on an urban rooftop. So it's kind of,
nice edge.
That was summer weather.
Yeah, it's just kind of everything's mixed up and not quite, it makes it unique.
Yeah.
I think they had fun with it.
They look like they've really had fun with it.
I think when you're photographing bands, it's really a bit of a trick to figure out how to make it fun, because it's just easier.
It's got to be a break from that routine of promo
for
the sake of promo, isn't it?
Band shots are difficult, and we always prefer band shots on location because you have a lot of more spontaneity. They can interact with the surroundings, and you're not ending up with 4 people in a row.
That's the thing.
In the studio, which is really difficult. I mean, if you can pull that off, you're
pretty good.
That's a challenge because it's been done so many times.
You pulled it off. You well and truly pulled it off.
Thank you. This shoot, and we had a ton of photos.
I take it both of you were shooting.
Yeah, we shoot a variety of cameras. So this was analog before digital, and we would bring 4x5 cameras, Hasselblad, Nikons. I always carried a Leica. So we basically Polaroid land camera, which we use 665, and we have the negative behind it.
Yeah.
So we just go crazy.
It must have felt
like
a press conference.
A press conference. Because we're both shooting, racing around.
It's disarming because they don't know what's going on. So it works in one way. Sometimes it doesn't work because it's confusing, but sometimes they just let go.
Well, and sometimes they're concentrating where you don't want them to concentrate, and the person that's on the side saying, in other words, you're saying, look at me over here, do this. And then the person is still taking pictures. So you get this whole, other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea is to kind of create spontaneity, whatever way you can. I mean, in a controlled way. You kind of control all the elements, and then you just try to.
Yeah, we basically build a box.
Let go.
And then we say, okay, go in there and play.
Yeah, because really the best shots are the ones you don't really plan.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're naturally just being themselves in the environment you've put them in. I might as well interject it at this point, because this is like, fans have been talking about this for 25 years, I guess. What can you tell me about the ball? What can you tell me?
The ball?
Oh, the ball. That probably was. What was that ball made out of?
That's another top secret item.
No, it's not. But what? Where is that? Where's the picture?
Oh, here. Let's look at the ball picture. We got to go on screen.
Because that's the dirt.
And there's a circle. I think there's a whole Irish mythology thing going on.
Yeah, it might have been.
That we kind of just played with.
Corrupted, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we appropriated it.
But I think it had to do with the seasons, the elements.
Well, it was the sand.
I think it's whoever people interpret it.
That's the thing, and that's the glory of the shot. I think the element doesn't look out of place, even though it should be.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. And to be honest, the way we photograph is we don't want to tell a very specific story. What we want to do is add the elements, which makes it a mystery, and then the viewer, they get to add all the content they want, because it's just enough to where it's like a story that you got a peek at, but you don't know how it started or where it ends. And that's very important to us. Yeah.
I mean, the ball is kind of a reoccurring theme in our work. I'm just recalling it. There's one shot we did. I mean, it's a totally different context, but it was for Diggable Planets. I think we had
we had balls.
We had 3 balls that they were walking toward. And over a bridge.
Right, over a bridge in New York someplace. It's like
I don't know where that came from either.
Would the ball in question have been brought as a prop?
Yeah. We brought everything, because the roof was empty. We had to clean up after we left. We made a big mess.
We actually there's a picture of them shoveling dirt.
Yeah, we had
the circles. We actually put them to work.
Right.
Maybe we had a limited budget. I don't know.
You have 4 people on hand, so let's,
Yeah, you're right. We're like, we need a shovel.
Sharon, would you mind helping us out here a little bit?
That's brilliant. At least we know it's definitely a brought prop.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I, after a long period of hunting, finally found the rooftop in question a couple of weeks back. Found exactly which place it was. Contacted the owner, and they were very kind and actually went to the roof and took pictures for me.
Wow.
Of what it looks like today. And I'll be able to share those with you so you can see what it looks like today. Where do you think the location was?
Is it in the notebook?
Yeah, I'm going to look underneath this thing because it might be.
Was it Brooklyn or Long Island City?
It's probably.
Oh, gosh.
I have an exact location. I just wondered if you knew.
Tell us,
because we're curious.
The company is the LABspace Metal Stamping Offices.
Oh, great.
That is in Greenpoint in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And they've been in business since the 50s, so it's the same company still running.
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm going to write that down. All best.
All best. I'll send you links after the show.
Oh, thank you. Because that's just, for us, those kind of, did you see this? I wish I could share this with them. Oh, send it to them.
Oh, Connie's looking at a picture of all 4 of them with a wheelbarrow and shovels and a broom.
I mean, we can share these with you.
In Basia's very sophisticated clothes.
Very sophisticated. Oh, she did an incredible job.
They probably returned them full of dirt in the pockets.
Some of that clothing she still has.
Oh, wow. Yeah, she does. Yes.
So there was 2 shoots.
Yeah.
The other one, I have yet to find exact locations for the beach, as well as there's shoots that look like they were outside a Mexican restaurant.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a single for Runaway.
I just posted that one today, and I tagged you on Instagram.
That's probably still around, maybe. Oh, here it is.
Yeah. Bienvenido, amigos. Yeah.
Was this shoot done before or after the rooftop? Do you know?
Before. It was before, yeah. Is that we were in David Foster's house. We had a meeting in Malibu.
So it probably was.
That was I think that was the first time we met them. We had a production meeting.
Did you see them doing recording then?
No, but they were in the middle of.
Yeah, they were must have been in the middle of it, because we were in David Foster's house, which was a big deal for us.
It was a very nice house. That's where we first met them.
Were either of those first 2 shoots near his house then?
They might have been.
Oh, the outdoor location, maybe. It was kind of like a rocky beach. It kind of looked like Ireland. I'm looking at the pictures.
I mean, I have the address of David Foster's house in our notebook.
You don't have to give that.
No, but I mean, maybe that would help you find the train station.
The train. Yeah, the train.
Well,
Well, look, here's the beach.
Yeah, but look
at this.
Really
rocky beach.
It's a rocky beach. But this here, NUGO, this NU. This is we never showed this in any pictures, but that's the top of this
restaurant.
Right.
Oh, okay, so there's more details in the images for the restaurant.
Oh yeah, there's snapshots of Connie actually.
There's I did a lot of standing in for where we're going to shoot.
Connie was always the standing model.
Yeah, I tagged you. I tagged you on the Instagram.
We could do a whole photo book on Connie as a stand-in model. Wearing clothes that are
too big.
Talk about a surreal book. Polaroids have become kind of special because they're they don't make the material anymore, but they're just they're kind of like you would take a Polaroid just before you were ready to use film. So a lot of the Polaroids are kind of setting up their backgrounds, their the behind the scenes pictures.
But a lot of the Polaroids we end up using for the final because we have the negative.
Yeah. And then they've faded over time and they have an interesting patina. They weren't coated correctly.
Oh.
There was some fixative that you would have to roll on, but you would have a little plastic tube that you would open, and then you'd take the Polaroid and you'd have to coat it. And if you didn't coat it correctly, over time it would fade.
Your assistants would coat it, but they might not really coat it carefully.
Yeah, because they weren't that valuable.
So it would be streaky. But I found some on eBay.
Connie bought some on eBay for a fortune.
And recoated them all so they would stop fading and last. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And half of them were dried out.
I can't believe you've done that.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's the great unseen and the variances of images that have been burned into your mind with their own story that's played out in your own head, as you said, and then seeing different aspects and different layers to those images now, and seeing you in that location, to me, is just mind-blowing.
We didn't realize 30 years ago that would be fun now.
Yeah.
We were just like, this is our workbook where we remember how we shot it, what we did, what lights we bring,
Yeah.
And now it's almost historical in a funny way,
Well, also the notebooks have like there'll be photo shoots on each page or the spread, and then there will be something totally unrelated, like something else we were working on in our lives, and that would be like
pasted in there sometimes.
in the middle of all this. So it was just kind of a random, loose, kind of a diary,
but a visual one. When you first met the band in person, that would have been in Malibu at David Foster.
Yep.
And they were probably midway through recording the album, you say?
Yeah, we didn't know, because we're still like, you kind of jump in and you're not part of the party.
Yeah.
And so you jump in, so you're not sure exactly what you're witnessing. So you can think you're witnessing what you're thinking, but it might not be that at all, because you're just, so it could be very misleading.
Well, it's scheduled on your appointment book, and you fly, and you have the meeting, and then you shoot, and then you go home.
Yeah.
It's
and then you have a ton of work to do, and then you're not even sure.
And you're doing other projects.
Yeah.
So you're just focused on really what you need to do.
Right. Well, and also I think it's which is really good for people with short attention span. It's really good when, you can just go in and you're playing hard and then you leave.
Yeah.
And then you have this other project that you're doing. So it's very in the moment.
You're bouncing around a lot.
And you're bouncing around, and you have to be able to be adaptable and just go in, SWAT team, have fun, and then leave. And our key, mostly for our entire career, I know some photographers are very serious and they think of themselves in a very serious, but Russell and I, we had to have fun. We had to play. And if we had fun and we felt exhilarated and we lost track of time, then we considered success. And we had to just be so absorbed in our play that we forgot everything else that's around us.
Wow.
And that was very important. It still is.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, I think you find what works, the mode of working that works best for you. Some people need to really be serious, focused. And it's not like we weren't serious, but I think it had to be a playful endeavor. Once all the planning and everything was nailed down, you got to be loose.
Yeah.
And then I think working with bands was an opportunity to do that, because sometimes with advertising, it's all so locked in. There's no spontaneity, and that's always
boring.
Not boring. It's just limiting. So with bands, and some bands are so like we shot Wu-Tang Clan, and it was just like herding cats. To get them all in one shot was really impossible.
We made collages, but we had so much fun because it was really surreal. And we had
that's fun. Pictures. That's always fun. It's challenging. But we like that.
That's amazing insight to how you work and how you've continued to work through all those years. Is that amazing balance between the paperwork, the logistics of it all, and we're going to go and have some fun here. Oh, right, we finished with that. Yeah, we've got some logistics and the hard work afterwards. But in the meantime, we're going to have some fun here as well to break it up. And yeah, it sounds amazing. It sounds really amazing and really fulfilling.
The team is super important.
Bill and Basia, they kind of have that playful quality also. I think that's why we worked so well together.
And they're surreal.
And probably, I don't recall the hair and makeup team, but again, they probably had a similar approach to working also.
I think what it is you can be completely undone by a team that's not supportive. And we always hired, because there's two of us, we have a lot of cameras, we have a lot of technical stuff that has to keep going and smoothly, like loading and this and that, and different types of film, and then tracking it and coding it. And we worked with amazing people that we still, years and years and years, the same type of, the same people. And it's like a group. It's a group, and they make you look good. You have to honor it. Very important.
the photographers always get all the credit, but it's really a teamwork. It's a group effort.
It's funny you mentioned that, because one of the first things we really spoke about, me and Basia, was how thankful she's been through the years that her work has been credited by you both, and that she's been recognized as part of that team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's so important. And especially with Basia, because we did some major advertising where Basia, like for Louis Vuitton, she made the clothes. I mean, they didn't have clothes when we shot it. We were just supposed to shoot the bags. And we were like, Basia, let's do everything in checks and make a men's check suit in a check dress and did it.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Work. Incredible.
And it was really a super successful campaign. She's very artistic and she's the same. She's wonderful.
Obviously, there's the album cover shot.
Right.
Who chose that shot?
They did. Yeah, because what we do is we turn in our favorites. What we do is we usually will print up or work on the ones we love. And then we send the shoot, basically contacts and everything else. And then the art director will choose the ones that are appropriate for their project. But it seemed that in our notebook, the ones that we loved, we pasted in our notebook.
The album cover was.
The album cover is.
We
have the Polaroid of the original album cover, and it's so that we kind of mutually on the same page.
Wow. That's wonderful, especially over the course of 2 shoots, to know that you've got on that page together with the artist and with the band, especially when there's not just one person in that band. They'll all need to have their say.
Yes.
You've both worked together and with your team to establish a series of shots that represent the band and your work. And then the band have then reflected that back to you and gone, yeah, that's definitely in the right direction. And that's what we want for our first album. Yeah. And you say that's a train station?
It was a train on track.
Yeah, I'd assume it's a rail yard. Probably.
It's a rail yard, probably.
We always tried to like industrial landscapes. There's a certain beauty to the decay.
Yeah.
And again, that gives everyone an edge, and that's a stylistic device that was used at that period in time. I think maybe now it's a cliche.
Because it has textural qualities and it's abstract. So I think that almost any of these, in my mind, when we have a good shoot, it stands the test of time. People will like them, refer to them, because nothing is so, that's so 80s or that's so 90s. It's completely timeless.
Yeah.
And for me, that's extremely important, because my favorite work of ours, I can pull it out now and people will be loving it. It's not dated. And that's very important.
Maybe the industrial locations have an ambiguity. There's a beauty to it.
Yeah.
It just always seemed to work.
Maybe now, for example, maybe our industrial landscape might go to power grids and nuclear plants. We did go to Poland and photograph like these towers, and so they're disturbing, but in the same way, it's kind of for us, we always try to add that what's happening, humanity, like a little of our worry into photos.
Yeah.
Like when you're location scouting, you'll either go somewhere that you're familiar with. Because, we didn't live in LA, so we weren't as familiar of LA as we were of New York. But typically, you would hire a location scout, and they would use either their catalog of locations, or they would go somewhere new, send you they'd have to have the pictures developed, send them to you in the mail. Can you imagine that? And then you would pick your location. So a lot of times you may not have thought of a location until you saw these pictures, and that would spark an idea. the ideas come from many different places.
But also they would be familiar with our work, so they would know what we would like.
There's a common denominator.
Yeah.
You would hire the location scout because they kind of know what you're looking for anyway.
Nice.
The ideas could come from the talent themselves, or the
well, even the beach, like you could have a typical LA beach, but we preferred it almost looks like we went to
it looks like Ireland.
Yeah, it was really rocky and really hard to get around, and we like that better than your normal beach. So.
And I remember actually there was on the beach, there was some cliffs, and amongst the dunes there were paths. And I remember that we had them kind of walking line down the path. When we were
on the side of a cliff.
We were walking backwards and not knowing where we were going. So someone would probably
they were playing their instruments.
And I remember Sharon playing the violin, walking down the path, and it was really beautiful.
Wow.
You know, it's so poetic because it felt like Ireland, you know?
Captured that part of home still.
Yeah.
Shoot for a band that we weren't aware of, and they had East Coast, West Coast. That was unusual. That was, in other words, the record company was putting like some big bucks behind this band, and they were using top people, you know, like the producers and all that. So there was something there. Everybody must have known they were just wonderful, you know, and they wanted to make sure that everything was perfect for the first one.
All of the major shots seem to be West Coast.
West Coast.
Rear or extra shots.
Yes.
Seem to be the other way. Yeah.
Yes.
And all of the beautiful Irish-looking beach stuff wasn't used.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like they really liked the edge you've given them.
I think so, yeah.
In the context of the backgrounds, and gone, no, if we're going to do that, we're going to go all the way.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right. But you know, at the time, you're not sure. No one's really sure what the direction to go in. So it's good to have a range within a context. You don't want to be all over the place. You kind of want to cover options as much as you can.
And then it's up to them to do with what they will.
Exactly. And they don't even know until they see the pictures, you know. It's a very intuitive process. And again, you know, for the first album, they're even less sure of how they want to be perceived, you know, image-wise. So it's an interesting process.
Incredibly.
This is cross-process.
That's the other thing. We use cross-process film, which is like taking film, shooting it, and then shooting it incorrectly and processing it as something else. You get this.
Shoot one way and you process it as another kind of film, and it produces a really contrasty,
extreme image.
So what we would do is do the cross-processing
and then print it in
and then take the negative, the color negative, that's processed incorrectly, and print it in the darkroom in black and white.
Wow.
So a lot of those pictures, they have a really gritty quality.
Yeah.
Contrasty. And that's how that was done. And that was kind of our thing. Because this is all pre-computer. So you're always looking for ways to make your pictures look unique. And it was always
experimenting. Oh, actually the 8x10 film, the Polaroid, we discovered by a mistake that an assistant did. We were shooting the Neville brothers, and we processed the color film, but we used the black and white paper to run through the Polaroid machine. And it came out this brown, wonderful color. And so then we started shooting like that. But it would literally cost them all twice as much money because you're throwing away one box of so, but it was this really unique look. And that was by accident, we discovered it on the shoot. And we just shot the whole job that way because we liked it.
and really, it kind of connects, now I think about it, especially for bands. We would always try to mess up the pictures in some way. And it kind of connects to the gritty urban landscapes. The final print, particularly in black and white, always looked like they were bleached or fogged or grainy, or blacks were really dense. So they would have that gritty quality.
Or just some romantic. It could even go romantic. You know, something that was beyond just a document of something.
Yeah, it's trying to put it in a place that is serious, a little ambiguous.
The viewer has a lot to grab onto and think about and make their own stories. Because there's something obviously going on. Now, we imagined it, it's only a moment, but they can expand it to a universe.
That's great. It's an incredible way of working. Some images from the rooftop show the band with obviously their instruments. And this was after the first shoots. So rooftop shoot. Did they actually play and sing?
They might have played something, but I don't remember.
There's a great picture. I'm looking at it now where they're inside this urban factory and they're just walking towards us playing their instruments. And they look like they're playing. It's kind of great.
It's cool that at least to get confirmation that they were actually playing. It's not just posed.
Oh, yeah, I think
it's really hard to fake it. Yeah, they can't.
Can you tell me more about the car that was used in some of the photos?
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't asked us about the Carmen Villa, the car in front of the restaurant.
Do you believe it was just there at the time?
We don't know.
Well, you know, it looks too beat up to be a prop car, so it's probably just sitting there.
Yeah, but you'd have to ask the person. Did we ask the person?
No,
because leaning on someone's car, you get into a world of trouble.
We wouldn't have cared about that.
Well,
you care about it now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you, when you go back and look at the work, you discover pictures that you completely overlook.
And they're really good, especially in the new era. Like it's like you.
And you wonder why that wasn't selected to send to the art director. And I guess your perspective is different. It's just interesting, you know, you look at things in a different way 30 years later.
Yeah, you're different. You're a different person. You've
different person, different time. Maybe the pictures you liked in the beginning just seem less interesting than others.
Not always.
Not always, but
I don't think it has to be less or more. I think it's just different.
Or maybe the impact the image may have had for you back then is different because you know it more?
Maybe.
Yes.
We have this, I'm looking at these pictures. We have a great picture of James with a blindfold on. And the girls are just kind of
laughing
on
the beach.
It's kind of great.
It's solarized.
Yeah, it's solarized, which means the Polaroid was cold.
It was cold and it had a light leak.
So in the dark areas, it turned into a negative.
Wow.
So it's kind of a surreal look. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
This one worked.
This one works. And so what we would do is you take the Polaroid and then you'd have a negative that you put in a sulfite solution on location. So, and then at the end of the day, you would bring about 100 of these
to the hotel room,
3 by 4 inch negatives, and you would wash them in your hotel room, and then you would hang them up to dry
on a string with clothespins.
With clothespins. And usually the assistant job would be to do that.
The room would be filled with Polaroids, hanging every place.
It's kind of funny to think about.
And probably the floors will be stained with sodium sulfite.
I know the effect you mean because I've seen it on some of the example images I've seen in low quality. And my brain couldn't work out what I was watching because I'm looking at. It's a positive, but it also has areas that are a negative.
Yes.
But in areas of high contrast, so it works. And
it's usually the black areas that become negative.
All right, that's them walking down the hill on the beach playing.
Yeah, so a lot of these on the beach are solarized, probably because it was cold.
Oh yeah.
And you'd always go, damn, because you can't really do anything about it. But later you look at them and you go, oh, this is cool. So
I like it.
So that's the serendipity part of the process. Is that these mistakes sometimes
are perfect.
Work to your advantage. So you kind of want to allow a little. You don't want the whole shoot to be polarized.
No.
But sometimes mistakes work in your favor, and so use them.
Do you have a favorite photo from that shoot?
It's hard. There's so many great shots.
I'm telling you, they were beautiful. So it was really hard to take a bad photo. We'd have to be really not paying attention.
Look at this one.
I know, it's just fabulous.
I'm looking at another one where James is blindfolded and they're on the rocky beach, and it has it's like they're playing a game, and what's great is they look like a family, really playful and genuine. Most bands aren't all related, and so this is kind of unique.
Yeah, I mean, you like that one, but
kind of great.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard.
It's really hard to pick one. Yeah, because I love that. I love the cute ones. Yeah, see, I love that one.
Yeah, there's one of just the four of them on
the roof,
and they're
adorable.
You say you're not much talkers, but you've brought loads of insight today.
Thank you. Well, we enjoyed it. It was fun jogging our memories.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I feel transported back in time.
Oh, wonderful. That's really lovely to hear. Thank you so much. I've been nervous to see what it would be like to interview two people at the same time, but you work so well as a unit that it's just become really natural. You've made my job very easy.
30 years of practice, right?
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with me about your work from 25 years ago. It's been really amazing to hear your insights fresh as they've come back into your memories. Thank you so much again for taking the time to be on the show, and keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. No doubt we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Another huge thanks goes out to Connie and Russell for spending time and being willing to partake in the podcast series. It was incredible to see such insight from behind the lens and to garner further information about how the promotional process went for the band in these early days. After countless hours going through Google Maps, trawling through Californian beach and shorelines and cliffs and numerous restaurants throughout the state, I finally was able to match up the exact locations used for this photo shoot. Connie and Russell had details and business cards that I was able to trace the owners of locations from, and then trace back to geo-coordinates a rough area. The restaurant itself that was used for the iconic shots on the Runaway single, and that can also be seen in a lot of the unused shots from this shoot. It's still a restaurant. It's owned by somebody else now that I was able to get in contact with, and they've taken pictures of the outside as it looks like today. And in the show notes, you'll find links to images of as it was back then and images matched up showing what it's like now. And most importantly of all, we finally now have the location that was used for the album cover itself. All of these, as always, referenced with geo-coordinates. If you happen to visit any of these locations yourself, please get in touch with images. It'd be wonderful to realise that fans had now been able to visit these locations all these years later. Thank you again for those who have reached out with questions, comments, and feedback regarding the series so far. It's always lovely to hear from those that are listening throughout the world. If at all possible, I'd always ask if you could leave a review on the podcasting platform that you are using, and if you could share the content, whether that be on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It will all help in bringing this series to others so they can listen along too. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes in the series, I would urge you again, as always, to go back and listen. And if you have any ideas, feedback or thoughts regarding the series, or if you wish to be on CorrsCast, please feel free to reach out. You can contact CorrsCast on any of the socials just using the handle CorrsCast. In the next episode in the season, we head back towards the music and focus on someone who was responsible for first hearing the sound that we came to know as Forgiven Not Forgotten. This person was credited by the Corrs as the first person that had listened to the music and genuinely liked it. Thank you for listening, and until next time, you've been listening to CorrsCast.